The brands that continue to perform well this year aren't going to be guessing. They aren't hoping. They're operating off their P&L. They know their numbers. They know their customer LTV. They know what they can afford to spend on new customer versus other customers. They understand what different segments those people exist within. The brands that will win in 2026 are the ones that are taking action on this right now, not in Q3, not in October, not when things settle down, right now in January. If you've been paying attention to any of the industry analysis coming out of this last Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you've probably noticed the sentiment is mixed at best, really. So yes, spending was up. Costs are up too. Regulatory uncertainty is honestly making everyone nervous. And when you factor in inflation, nearly half of that revenue increase just kind of disappears. And so rather than add another hot take to the pile, I want to do something different today. I'm going to share the actual numbers from our clients, the good, the bad, and what it all means for 2026. The reality is that by the end of this episode, I want you guys to go into 2026 understanding exactly maybe even one strategic shift that can offset rising costs. Is there a specific action plan that you guys actually can have around next Black Friday, Cyber Monday in 2026? All right, let me get into it. Let me just give you the numbers first. So no real spin. Across all of our clients, revenue was up 28% in Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2025 compared to BFCM in 24. 89% of our clients had what I would call a massively successful Q4. And that's breaking out of just BFCM. But I can break that down into a little bit more specific examples, although not naming names, but what it looks like in practice. So our largest CPG client saw a 40% revenue increase from last year, 40%. That's definitely a step change. Baby product brand we work with, they saw a 24% revenue increase. And here's what's interesting about that one is that they actually improved their AMR at the same time. So they grew and got more efficient, which is rare. We had a new CPG client that was basically starting from scratch. They did really 16,000 last year in Black Friday, Cyber Monday 24. And this year they did 2.2 million. Their first real Black Friday, Cyber Monday, absolutely crushed it. An accessories client 4x their revenue with a great AMR, much more efficient. And an electronics client doubled the revenue with almost a 5 AMR. Again, AMR, NC ROAS, use those whatever you like. So when I hear people saying DTC growth has stalled, it's really hard out there, the market is impossible right now. Obviously, we have a small sample size. We're not pulling in hundreds of brands. We're a boutique agency. But I do have to push back on that because the data that we have visibility into doesn't necessarily support that. So growth is still very much possible. And that's considering 2025 was the year of tariffs. But the people that survived and got through and got to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, their year over year might be down. But a lot of our clients had a very successful Q4. And this is important because what it costs to grow has changed, right? That's what we need to talk about. And that's the reality check that I probably just need to be honest with you, because if I just stopped at those numbers, I'd be painting an incomplete picture. Like across our clients, again, averages here, ad spend increased by 53% from last year. And AMR, that's the efficiency on new customer acquisition, actually dropped by 21%. Now, let me contextualize this for a second, because I don't want you to walk away thinking, oh no, efficiency is tanking. That's not quite right. Like anybody that understands the relationship understands that increasing ad spend is not inherently bad at a lower efficiency. In fact, increasing ad spend while maintaining efficiency is obviously the goal. But oftentimes what scaling looks like is you're increasing ad spend and you want that increase in ad spend and drop in AMR to be not one-to-one, right? And honestly, we always advise our clients that you should be expecting that AMR is going to go down and efficiency is going to go down as the company scales. That is completely normal and expected. And here's what was different this year. Like I think for about half of our clients, that efficiency drop went past what we'd expect from scaling alone. It wasn't just we're spending more, so efficiency came down a bit. It was actually the market got harder, right? Like simply put, new customer acquisition has got more expensive. That's the reality. But another thing is this isn't catching us by surprise. Like we've been watching this trend develop all year. We didn't spend the first 10 months of 2025 sitting around ready to excuse the inevitable performance drop on market conditions. We saw this coming. A lot of our prep in Black Friday, Cyber Monday is around September, October, and before then. Back in Q1 of last year, we started working with many of our clients to actually shift the focus. We want to start prioritizing returning customer revenue. We start looking harder at LTV. We stop treating acquisition as the only lever, right? Even though we're primarily responsible for new customer acquisition, when BFCM hit, the results really showed. So if new customer acquisition got harder, how do we actually still crush it? And so let me explain. This is the part I think that matters for your 2026 planning, is the stat that might seem counterintuitive at first. So is like our MER, like marketing efficiency ratio, that's total revenue divided by total ad spend across all clients, actually increased by 20% from 2024. So didn't I just say MER dropped by 21%? I did. So NC ROAS. So despite a 21% drop in efficiency on new customers, our clients still made 20% more revenue per ad dollar spent over Black Friday, Cyber Monday in 2025. So now I could lead with that headline. I could put that in the thumbnail. Clients see 20% increase, and that would paint a picture of increased efficiency. Well, honestly, I'd be lying to you. So like ROAS, MER is not a good standalone metric for e-commerce in 2026. I think it covers up and can hide bad ad spend. That's why we don't drive ad spend, or our main efficiency is not MER. It first is AMER, which was down because new customer acquisition was less efficient, even though spend got way more. So again, this is the beauty of like the way that we come alongside you from a client perspective, and for you guys as brands also need to be looking at the holistic picture, right? You can't just be looking at new customer acquisition in isolation. You can't just be looking at your LTV, but you need to take into both of those and also all of your cost centers to really make sure that this is tracking against the brand's goals. And so when these numbers in isolation can sound bad, poor, great, really good, it all within context of the brand's goals was lining up to those things. So like I said, acquiring new customers got harder. Second, and this is the key, returning customer revenue. Across all of our clients, returning customer revenue increased by 35%. So meanwhile, new customer revenue only increased by 20%. So let me say that again, because it's important. Returning customer revenue up 35%, new customer revenue up 20%. That 15% point gap, that really is the whole story. So if we've been focused on MER all year, our clients would have come into Black Friday, Cyber Monday completely dependent on new customer acquisition in a market where acquisition efficiency dropped 21%. And that's painful. So instead, we want to come into BFCM leveraged around returning customer revenue. This is where everybody comes back into the auction to come for the sale, right? Like this is where the main cohort that we're looking at is active, non-recent customers, people that are buying within the last 6 months, but we acquired them more than 6 months ago. So they're non-recent, but they're active. So we're analyzing this cohort of customers around that existing customer base, around the work that we've been building relationships with people who've already bought from. So that paid off big over last Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And this is one of the primary ways that you can outpace rising costs, not by finding some new acquisition channel, not by hoping CPMs don't go up as much. You build a business that doesn't depend entirely on acquiring strangers. Now, some realities of a business model or a category is just naturally, you just don't have LTV. So how do you think about new product launches, etc.? So again, like BFCM results are so much more about what you do before that November, December period, not what you do during that big 5-day sale weekend. The brands that really won for us, we were helping them think about their strategy in September, October, and even leading up to that to build a foundation from the ground up. So I've told you what worked. I think now to make this more practical for, okay, it's January when I'm recording this, and Black Friday, Cyber Monday is very far away, 10 months away. How do you go about thinking about that? You start up now, and I'm going to give you a quarter by quarter breakdown of what I think you should be focused on. Write this down, record it, whatever you do, go back and listen to this, because I think this is a playbook that you can think through. Q1, right now, the first thing you need to do is audit where you actually stand. And I mean, really audit, like not just glance at your Shopify dashboard, but number one, you need to calculate your returning customer versus new customer split. What percentage of your revenue is coming from returning customers versus new. And if you don't know this number, one, that's a problem and you're flying blind, but you need to pull your data from 2025 to get a clear picture. For most healthy D2C brands, you want to see at least 30 to 40% of revenue coming from returning customers. Again, so much nuance here, lots of category agnostic numbers that I'm kind of spitting out, but that is a goal. Number two, you need to run a cohort analysis if you haven't done that already on the LTV of your brand. Not just your blended LTV, that's almost useless. I want you to look at LTV by acquisition channel, by product, by time of the year. You need to know which customers are actually valuable and which ones are one and done. We split recent customer repeat rate, customers acquired within the first 6 months, then that active non-recent repeat rate, people that were active, they're buying within the last 6 months, were acquired more than 6 months ago. Those are the way that we split out repeat revenue. But you also need to be looking at just not at blended LTV, but just how are these cohorts behaving over time. Number three, audit your post-purchase experience. Like, go buy something from your own store. See what emails you get. See what the unboxing experience is like. See how long it takes before anyone asks you to come back. Like, most brands are shocked at how bad this is when they actually experience it themselves, and you're just existing within an echo chamber. So I think Q1 is about diagnosis, and ultimately you're not going to be able to fix what you don't understand. So that is Q1. Q2, April through June, fix the foundation. See where you stand. Q2 is about fixing the fundamentals. Obviously, like, this is marketing calendar. Regardless of that, there's different Super Bowls for different people. You know, Q2 with a jewelry brand, a client of ours, you know, their Super Bowl is Mother's Day, right? Like, there's different peak buying periods that this is kind of irregardless of that. This is kind of just business 101. How do we actually get prepared for a Black Friday, Cyber Monday? If that is your Super Bowl, how do we line up to that? So I think this next quarter is about, in Q2, is about the unsexy work that actually moves the needle. So it's rebuilding your post-purchase email and auditing those SMS flows, the highest leverage thing that you can actually do for returning customer revenue. The customers that you're acquiring in Q2 are going to be coming back in Q4. And so your welcome series, your post-purchase follow-up, your replenishment reminders, if you're selling consumables, your win-back sequences, most brands set these up once and never really touch them again, unless there's kind of a problem or it's on fire. But ultimately, you're leaving money on the table. So, like I said, every customer that you're acquiring this first half of the year is a potential returning customer for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But only if you stay in relationship with them, even if you have poor LTV. Only if they remember you exist, right? Like, your email and SMS flows are how you maintain that relationship primarily. There's obviously other ways. You, the founder, can hit up your customers, can just talk to them, get them on the phone. Those are some of the other ideas that I think are really awesome. Number two, launch or improve a loyalty program. And I don't just mean slapping point system on your site. I think actually thinking about what makes customers want to come back. Like, what's the value exchange, right? Like, what's the tier structure? How do you make your most LTV, highest LTV customers, your best customers, feel special? And then number three, start collecting zero-party data, like birthdays, preferences, interests, household composition, like ultimately whatever's relevant to your brand. I think this data lets you personalize your marketing. And when BFCM rolls around, you can segment your audience, you can send targeted offers, et cetera, et cetera. So Q2 is really about that infrastructure. It's not necessarily glamorous, but it's going to pay massive dividends when it comes to Q4. Q3, July through September. Now you can activate and test. So I think Q3 is where you start putting it all into practice. Like, you've got the data, you've got the infrastructure, you can start activating. So number one, run a summer campaign targeting existing customers. Like, this could be VIP early access to a new product launch. This could be a loyalty member exclusive, whatever fits your brand. The point is to drive a purchase from people who've already bought from you. And really, primarily, this serves two purposes. It generates revenue now, right? Like, beautiful thing. And when summer can be a down period for a lot of brands, and it creates another touch point before BFCM. So someone who bought from you in July is going to be much closer to BFCM 1, but also much more likely to buy from you in November. Number two, you want to test your retention creative. We're not, super dogmatic on running retention campaigns within Meta specifically, but I think most brands only think about creative in terms of like new customer acquisition. But obviously, like creative that converts a cold audience is different from the creative that brings back a past customer. A lot of times you actually don't know what the creative is because Meta is so good at putting the right and relevant creative at whatever funnel that they're stage in. So I'm not necessarily talking about funnel in terms of retargeting. They've been to your site, they clicked on your Instagram profile, all that stuff. I'm talking about someone that is actually bought from you in times past. Obviously, a much higher ROAS expectation, but Q3 is when you figure out what resonates with your existing audience. You can test different angles, different offers, different formats. And then number 3, I think this is where you start, especially as you start getting closer towards September, is you start building your BFCM segments. So who are your VIPs? Who are your lapsed customers who want to win back? Who bought last BFCM but hasn't purchased since? Who's shown interest but never converted? All of these have different messages, different angles. So I think Q3 is you start practicing, you start like repping these out. You build the muscle memory so that when Q4 hits, you're not scrambling, you're actually executing against this plan. Now, October is kind of your final prep. So right before Q4, well, Q4 obviously, but like right before the BFCM really craze, most of the work should already be done. So like you're not building, but you're kind of like loading the gun, if you will. You're finalizing that promotional calendar, you're locking in your offers, your flows are being fire tested. So again, like the key is that you've done the work in Q1 through Q3. October should feel quite calm. And again, expectation is like, it's not going to be, it's a down month. Everybody's waiting for the sale, but you're not trying to fix your retention strategy in October, right? Like you're not trying to build a loyalty program in October. You're not trying to figure out who your best customers are in October. That work needs to be done way before then. So again, the real key is going to be consistency over like specifically campaign type. It's not about any single tactic. It's about the fundamental shift in how you think about your business. And if BFCM is a Super Bowl for you, and everything should be leading up to that point very methodically. Most brands treat customer retention as a campaign, right? They think about it twice a year, maybe a loyalty push in summer, but that's not how it works, right? Like the brands that really crushed it this past BFCM for us, by and large, they think about retention every single week. They're constantly nurturing their customer base. They're constantly looking for ways to create value for people who've already bought from them. They're constantly measuring returning versus new customer, returning LTV and making adjustments. So really, it's a discipline that's built into the business. And I think that's what I want to get across for you guys to build into this year, not just a better BFCM campaign this upcoming October, November, December, but a better business, right? Let me bring this home with some, I would say, uncomfortable truths. Anyone can help you grow when the market is popping off. So when demand is up, ad costs are cheap, and efficiency comes easily. It's simple for agencies to kind of take credit for the win. Everything's working. Look how smart we are. Like, it's just too easy. But when the market tightens, when tariffs come, all these different things, when those same agencies are kind of blaming the macroeconomics or macro conditions. And maybe you've worked with an agency like that before, honestly. Maybe you're working with one right now. I think this past Black Friday, Cyber Monday showed the difference between kind of riding the market and then responding to the market, right? Like the brands that continue to perform well this year aren't going to be guessing. They aren't hoping. They're operating off their P&L. They know their numbers. They know their customer LTV. They know what they can afford to spend on a customer, new customer versus other customers. They understand, what different segments those people exist within. So here's some questions I just want you to sit with is, again, like, what's your current split between returning and new? Do you even know? Like, if you don't, that's a problem, but that's okay. Now it's the first thing that you need to fix. What do you do in the first 10 months of 2025? What did you do that led to building that returning customer revenue or not? And so how can you do that in 2026? And if you're working with an agency, are they tackling these sort of metrics? Are they helping you think about this 10 months ahead of time? Or are they very much reactive and being dragged by you? The brands that will win in 2026 are the ones that are taking action on this right now, not in Q3, not in October, not when things settle down, right now in January. Because by the time Black Friday, Cyber Monday hits, it'll be too late to start.